Just a second. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Great. So today is September 22nd. This is the CSI implementation meeting. So I think we put a couple of agenda here. Maybe we can go over the cut release first for CSI test. So I think last time we mentioned, do we need the manual release 4.3? And how about the Chris feature? So is Chris here?
I synced with him earlier. He said he's not going to have time to add the test into it for this release. Okay. So I would release without it.
Okay, sure. So who is in charge of releasing the CSI test typically?
I've done it in the past. I can do it again, and I would also now remove the mock driver. I can prepare a PR for that.
Oh, that would be great. So you mean you want to remove the mock driver first and then cut the release?
Yes.
Okay. Sounds great. And thank you for helping on that. If you need anything like review or please ping.
We'll get started in about a minute. So who's going to lead it off?
Oh, sorry. I need to turn off my. Okay, let's move on to the PRs. I think so that day I saw this PR related to our storage side too. So just want to make sure, like by removing this type of flag, do we have any concerns from our side?
My understanding was that this flag was used by some entry plugins to check if like all the binaries were available on the host.
Right.
I'm not sure do we know which plugins are impacted by this?
No, right now I don't know.
I think there's a, in the volume interface, there's a method, I think, that's like check capabilities or something like that. We can see which plugins implement that method.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, so, Hamad, do you know off the top of your head?
Yeah, this is kind of the story. Yeah, there was some desire to check the capabilities of the host before the volume, like the plugin can be used, like binaries and some other capabilities too, I think, and it never got implemented properly. So I think we can remove it for sure. And yeah.
Yeah, okay. I guess we need to do we might need to do some further cleanup to actually remove those methods out of the volume plugins.
Yeah. Does this code removes from operation executor also? There are checks in there also, and they should be removed as well if you're removing this.
Okay, so I can take a look about this PR. So here I just want to like get some information. So if we have some concerns, but looks like it should be able to be removed. Just want to need to kind of clean up the code. Yeah. Okay. And the second one relate to Patrick. Did you add this or?
Yes, I did. It's the one that I'm discussing with Michelle, and I was thinking that we might need some, I don't know, live discussion to actually understand what's going on or should be going on here, because I just don't see why returning an error might break some other pod. Michelle,
Yeah.
Do you want to discuss it here, or should we continue?
Yeah. We can discuss it here. So basically, this was actually a result of a bug we fixed in the past. But basically, if for some other reason, a pod in another namespace, or just someone else in the cluster, the pod was using a PVC, and for whatever reason that PVC got in a bad state, if we return an error here, that would cause the pod being scheduled to never be able to successfully schedule. So I think that's
So in the other namespace you have a pod with a PVC,
and it's running and it's scheduled.
But the pod is not running because something is broken with the PVC, right?
Or no, let's say the pod is running and the PVC is there too. And for some other reason, I don't know, they just deleted the PVC for some reason while the pod is still running.
Okay.
And now when the scheduler comes and counts it, it's going to hit this PVC that's deleted and error.
Okay, so this code here looks at all pods in the system and not just the pod that is currently being scheduled.
Correct. Yeah. So
that is the part that I was missing. I was kind of already never scrolled back far enough where the pod comes from.
Yeah. So this scheduler plugin, what it does is volumes will have some volume plugins have limits on the maximum number of volumes that can be mounted or attached on a single node. And so what this scheduler plugin does is it counts all of the volumes that are already running on that node, and then checks if that node has space for the pod that's being scheduled.
So suppose the PVC was deleted, wouldn't that then mean that? Yeah. Okay, and now I see it. It would basically allow the pod to proceed, although there is a volume that is active on the node, and the current pod shouldn't be started.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, so I think it's just somewhere here, so basically in this scheduler plugin, there's some logic that counts the pod being scheduled, and there's also logic that counts pods that are already scheduled, and then we just want to make sure we're distinguishing the errors coming from the two.
So, but if some other pod is running and its PVC is deleted, should a new pod be allowed to run or not be allowed to run? Because we don't know whether the attach limit is within a valid range.
Correct. I think we decided to just, I think in that case, we had decided to just be, to just allow it to run, even if it may not. I think I think you can think of a scenario both ways where it would return an error but still be attached, or it could return an error and not be attached. I think we just wanted to, we just made a call to allow it and ignore those errors, I think. Did we ignore those errors or did we count them? Now I don't remember.
I think there's a lot of historic. If the PVC is missing, we counted those actually against the limit, for at least for attachable limit.
Okay.
And we put in some dummy something there.
So yeah, there's a log message. There used to be, well, on the left side, line 162, there is just a log message about this case.
Okay, can I?
I think when we go down, there isn't anything else. It continues.
Sorry.
Now the question was, what happens if the missing PVC is for the current pod?
Then that should error.
Isn't that also going to error in lots of other places?
It is, yeah.
And therefore, it might make more sense to just leave this code here without returning an error and rely on other checks for the pod that is being scheduled to not run because its PVC is missing. I think that makes.
I mean, potentially, but I guess it's like if someone, wants to like customize the scheduler and like disable other plugins, I think it's nicer if a plugin was more standalone.
Yeah, but if that then makes the plugin a lot more complicated, because we basically would need to know whether the current pod where we encounter the problem is the one being scheduled. I don't know whether that information.
I think it is. The way this plugin should be scheduled is like there's actually two calls, one to count the volumes of the current pod being scheduled and one to count the volumes of existing pods. Okay. It's already, I think the plugin is already split up that way.
I think then I think we should, I think what you're suggesting is to return an error if it's the schedule pod under scheduling and not a return an error for other pods.
Yeah, but okay. I guess Hamad brings up a good point that if it's other pods, we should actually just count it as a volume. Is that right, Hamad? Yeah. I guess the problem is we don't know the plugin. If we don't have the PVC, then we can't figure out which plugin it is.
I think we did something. We made some assumption. Could be wrong, but.
Oh, we like assumed it was the plugin?
Yeah.
The same plugin?
Yeah. I'll check out volume limit CSI.
Yeah, I remembered we had this definitely we had a big discussion on this.
Yeah, the underlying reason I think is like of doing this whole assumption thing is, I suppose, when you restore cluster from mid-city or something else, then like I think there was some corner cases where like the too many pods end up being scheduled on the same node, and some of the stuff is missing at this point, and then it just becomes a mess. I remember it vaguely, but I can take a look and dig up stuff. I have assigned this PR. I'm trying to take a look at this PR as well.
Yeah. Well, my goal still is only to get this ephemeral volume support in and not fix the logic or anything in that plugin. Of course, I don't want to break anything either. So what I will do is I'll add this additional if check around the error return and make it different for the two kinds of pods. And then if we think that the whole plugin and assumptions and so on needs further work, then I would like to see that in a different PR.
Sounds reasonable to me.
Okay, I think I know how to proceed with the PR now. I don't have time for it anymore today, but I'll probably update it tomorrow. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. So this get PVC will be return a temporary error, or this error means PVC no longer exists. If it's a temporary error, we do have the scheduler will retry, do something.
Yeah, the scheduler will retry.
Okay. So I think that's the items. We put it in the notes. So anyone has something else to talk about? So here in this 123 project, so I was thinking to add a few columns. One more is called the review needed, because sometimes I see there are some PRs need storage side of review, but not necessarily coming from us. So maybe we could use this as a place that we can check whether some review needed for us. I forgot. This is PR I noticed recently. Yes, that was like an issue because there is a risk when the get capacity from the container manager, right, to be able to figure out the node, for example, ephemeral storage size. But it could, when the node start, this information is not available immediately. And I think for some system part, they make some request, they need a certain amount of ephemeral storage allocated, and it will fail to start those system pods. So if you're interested in this, you can take a look. Okay, anything else we want to discuss? For the features, we have quite a few. Anyone have some update about the features? I think for graceful no shutdown, this is non-graceful, but there is another graceful shutdown. I will talk to Ping Amount maybe today or tomorrow if you have time. To get some feedback.
Yeah.
Okay, if nothing else, we can end this meeting, and we'll see next week.
Thanks.
Thank
All right.
you.